We haven't done a podcast for a long time. That's not because we haven't been doing anything.
Maybe we could just walk through what we've accomplished so far this year. And it was back in March that we had our first conversations about getting started with the Krapf Project, right?
I think actually it was April 1st, Calvin.
April 1st. Imagine starting a new venture on April Fool's Day.
I think right that time anyway. I might not be wrong about the exact date.
We more or less spent the month of April setting things up, doing a lot of organizing and designing.
I just arrived home from Kenya and I was still unemployed, didn't have work, so I was able to give time to it. And I wrote that biography during that month too, and got the thing, the website and stuff set up and bits and pieces established.
I think since then we've been doing quite a bit of, I don't know if experimenting is the right word, but just sort of putting feelers out and getting started with a bunch of different things to kind of see what direction things will go. That included a podcast. So we started recording and talking out loud about some of our ideas about the Krapf Project.
You know, COVID has put the kibosh on a lot of stuff. And while it is extremely frustrating, in another sense, I think it has helped because it has caused us to hold back on a number of different things. It hasn't allowed me to travel. I probably would have been in Kenya or somewhere raising support. It hasn't allowed us to do that. It has caused us to move back, I think, to a simpler form.
One very simple example of that is that we did try to get some printing done of some books. We were thinking of potentially using a sample of one book as a way to introduce ourselves to Krapf Project supporters and send some thank yous to patrons and so on. And we tried to print a few hundred copies of a small book, and we're excited to get that going. And then all the printers were occupied with printing homeschool material because that's what printers are busy with these days. That meant we had to wait a little while before taking on a printing project. So we'll see when we get the next opportunity to do that.
We've been finding our feet. I think we have we've learned a lot. I'm also trying to get a clearinghouse, missions clearinghouse for donations coming from US, Canada, and the UK. I'm in discussions with an organization that will cover all of those.
Oh, good.
Like an umbrella that will partner with the Krapf Project, allowed me to be one of their quote unquote missionaries. So I'm pursuing those little things in the background, trying to get that also developed.
Through all of those different things that we're trying to work out, really our focus has been pretty much the same. It's just sort of trying to get started with this idea of making sure that we contribute to the welfare of churches in Kenya by equipping and fortifying the ministry of their pastors with good literature. I think that's still that's never really changed. We've been sort of pushing on that in different ways, but that's been the thread through all of it.
The mission statement hasn't changed. The goal is still the same. And I think, to be honest with you, we have learned something. And I wonder why I hadn't thought of things at the very beginning, little simple things, which I'll deal with in a moment. But I finished an article, 2,500 or 2,000 words, maybe 2,500 words article on the life of Krapf for magazines. I've submitted it to a number of magazines. One in Kenya, I think, is going to publish it in the new year on the life of Krapf. So I'm trying to get that out, trying to also not only do our work and the mission goal in Kenya on the field, but also to raise awareness of the mission, but also raise awareness of the missionary, Ludwig Krapf. He's a forgotten missiological treasure, in my opinion, my humble opinion. And I think if people read his life story, they would see that this guy was an amazing pioneer, linguist, educator, explorer, even before Livingstone. You know, I don't want to take the place of Livingstone away from him. But Krapf was out there before Livingstone. Krapf opened up the East Coast for him. But to bring us up to speed, a number of weeks ago, I was chatting to a friend in Kenya, just chewing the fat, on how best we can get to the pastors, because publishing has been sort of put on hold. I can't go and get it done in Nairobi myself. So I've sort of paused that. There's a books are sitting waiting to go, but we'll pause it. But then it came to me, we're trying to create a culture of reading. And you think of North America and the West here, we have periodicals, Christian periodicals, more than we can read in any one month. And the pastors there have nothing of that nature. So I thought of a small paper, a small, like a bulletin, double-sided, that we can PDF and send out to different locations, get it printed out and distributed among rural pastors. So the first one is coming out, and I sent you a draft of it.
Yep.
And I've sent it out to a number of people, missionaries in Nairobi, in Kenya, trying to get their ideas. In fact, I just sent it to a missionary yesterday to the Maasai. He's from Northern Ireland originally. In fact, he's in Northern Ireland at the minute. He works with the Maasai. So he gave me a few little ideas too with regard to them. So I'm trying to make it as broad, optimize it as much as possible. So I'm going to tweak that before the first edition goes out, the 1st of January 2021. And then on Friday, yes. So then I was chatting to a friend in Nairobi as a pastor, and I was chatting to him what we would need in Kenya, what we would like to have in Kenya for as far as admin and assistance and distribution. And he had a guy in his church, and I've been in touch with him over the weekend. He's eager to help.
Great.
In distribution and different things, just as a key guy there in Nairobi. So he's been back and forward. And then the pastor came back to me. And I don't want to give too much away because there's nothing set in concrete. It's just ideas. But the idea of partnering with a church in Kenya that would be able to do sort of groundwork, that the church could take it and the church could help. It's a mission that individual church, it's a church that we attended when we were in Nairobi. So that's been encouraging.
Great, yeah.
Different developments there, different openings in the Nairobi area. But the goal is always still not Nairobi, but the rural pastors. And I keep reminding them of that.
It makes sense, though, that the people closest to the work would do as much of it as possible. Like that would be, that's vastly superior to distant, remote efforts.
It's really what is needed is somebody on the ground in Nairobi, particularly. That's where the printers are. That's where the hub is. That's where everything's happening, and then it can go out from there. So that has been encouraging, and I'm still that's still ongoing. Whatever comes out of it, we'll see. So there was something else I was going to mention to you. Yes, I just even tonight I got a WhatsApp from a guy in Kenya I had taught in his church, and another problem that pastors have in rural Kenya is their churches don't support them. It's a major problem, and it's not that the people are not generous. They just have never been taught as a church to give weekly as a part of the worship.
Right.
They give if they have a building, or if they need to put a roof on, or if they need to buy windows for the building, they'll have a Harambee, and they'll all come and they'll collect money as an event rather than an act of worship. So I taught in this pastor's church last year, and he told me tonight, he says the teaching was profitable and they're buying him a motorbike as the pastor. So that was encouraging.
Yeah.
To see little fruits of the labor. And that's the sort of thing we want, small incremental but sure work moving forward. Another guy WhatsApped me tonight again. He has just moved from the east where we were. He moved out west, close to Lake Victoria, to his home place, and he's planting a church there. And I put something on Patreon about this, looking for a motorbike for him. I'd like to buy him a motorbike if money comes in. But I encouraged him to get a pastors' association established that he can control, that he can encourage other pastors in the area. And I'll help him with material for resources and Bible study. So he just texted me about 45 minutes ago, WhatsApp me with
great,
an agenda for a meeting, for the first meeting tomorrow.
Oh, wow. Things are moving.
It's just little things. It's a little thing.
Yep.
But it's what we want to do. You know, we may never see the fruit of these things, but it's just these people, these pastors are so consumed with living that they can't focus on their ministry. And they need constant encouragement and constant coming alongside them. And that's pretty much what we want to do. You know, one pastor told me last year, a couple of years ago, that the church in Kenya, the rural church in Kenya, is in crisis. And I've seen that for myself. And they just need somebody to come alongside and encourage them along. And that's what we're doing. And so those little things encourage me.
Yeah.
Just to help them along, you know. So a lot of stuff is going on in the background. But once the travel ban's lift, my first port of call will be Kenya.
Very good.
And I'm thinking my first initial thought was to get seminars started. But I think my first jobs when I get there this time will be just to make these contacts, firm them up, and build on those contacts. I've been building on a number of different contacts that I had made and lost, and I've been building them up again all across Kenya. So that's pretty much where we're at, what I've been doing.
I feel like after kind of year one, it's not quite a year since we started, but at the close of the first calendar year of this work, I feel like the big tank of ideas and content and resources is pretty full on our end, and now we're looking for bits to distribute it and ways to get started to fill the pipes and get it to the right spots. So
I think
we're well positioned. Once we have some of those pastor societies or periodicals or different partnerships established, we have got lots to work with. I'm thankful that we did have people to work with us for the first few months here and support even through the very initial stages here. I think that's been a real encouragement, a blessing.
Right. Like there was those who were doing proofreading and things like that. That hasn't been lost. That's still still there, and we're going to use that.
Yeah.
So yes, we're thankful for the patrons.
But people who join us in the future will be appreciated too. But the people who've helped get things off the ground these first few months are pretty uniquely partnering with us, and we're appreciative.
They are actually. I think that's a good point to make. We'll sign off, Calvin, and in the new year we'll come up with another slate of podcasts for 2021.